Grace and peace, everybody. We're back. Happy Thankful Thursday to you. We got a great one planned for you. Thank you so much for everybody who's already jumped into the best live chat on the internet. I appreciate y'all tapping in with us today. It's 2:00 in Texas. Thank you so much for giving us an update on that. It's 3:00 here in Georgia, and it's a warm, sunny day in Georgia. Unlike what it's been recently. It's been kind of rainy lately, so shout out for sure. I appreciate everybody who's already hopped in. Thank you so much for popping up in here. I do appreciate y'all. It's been a busy day. We got a lot going on over here at Whitaker Park and all that kind of good jazz. So I do thank you all for tapping in today. I know this usually my Thankful Thursday show is a little bit later in the day, but we have such a great guest. I figured it would only make sense to move the Thankful Thursday up because we're thankful that we got a great guest. So I do want to, before I get too far afield, just want to say thank you to everybody who participated in the last month's 150 likes. Thank you so much for participating in the Tracy Martin book giveaway. Thank you to everybody who's been a participant in helping the channel grow. It means a lot. And I really do want to say that. I'm probably going to say that 10 more times, but I don't want my guests to lose interest and tap out. So let me go ahead with no further ado. I know what y'all want. I know what y'all people want. Y'all want us to meet my guests. So let's go with no further ado. Ladies and gentlemen, Nissam Black is in the building. Grace and peace to you, brother.
Holy brother.
How are you, man?
I'm doing amazing.
This is a long time coming.
Yeah, this is actually. We're definitely long overdue.
Absolutely, man. They say, hey, when are we going to get the two bearded brethren from 9 time zones away? We're going to get them together. And look, we get the people what they ask for. We get the people what they ask for here. How are you, man?
No doubt about it. Where you located?
I'm in Atlanta.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah.
I was never there. Out of all the places I've been to in the world, could you imagine I have not stepped foot in Atlanta yet?
We got to kick you off the channel, man. You gotta go. You gotta go, man. Until further notice. If you haven't come to the airport even. Come on, man.
I've been to the airport. I have been to the airport.
We might okay.
I haven't been to Atlanta.
We might give you a little slide. We might give you a little pass for that one.
Okay. Give me a little pass.
Otherwise, man. All right, Nissam Black. If you don't mind, if my guests have not, I don't know if they've been living under a rock. I don't know what they've been doing, but let's just pretend that there's one person out here who doesn't know who you are. Could you tell us who you are?
I am Nissam Black. I am originally a recording artist. Grew up in Seattle, Washington. Both my mother and my father, they were hip hoppers. They actually pioneered hip hop in Seattle. So they were very early, right after Rapper's Delight, Grandmaster Flash. My parents actually rocked stage with Grandmaster Flash and Kumo D, everything. So they were very early, like 81, my parents started. And so I grew up, that was sort of what they did. And that was more of the fun thing. That was before it became this billion-dollar industry. So my parents also sold drugs. I was very much so, like I always say, any good Jewish boy joined the family business very early on. So
I did not see this one coming.
Running with street gangs. I was involved very much so. And started having some transformation happen in my life when I started going to a hip hop program. My first introduction to religion was Islam. My grandfather was a Sunni Muslim, so I prayed with him 5 times a day. And he ended up going to prison, unfortunately, where he passed away at. And from then on, I was just getting in trouble. And then when I was around 13 years old, there was a friend of mine that got me to go to this hip hop program. I love music. Music was my passion. Mm-hmm. And so I started going there. And these people became like a safe haven for me. It was the Union Gospel Mission, very, very sweet people. Ended up taking me to one of these young life camps, a Wild Horse Canyon. We'll never forget it, in Oregon. Beautiful experience. Came back. It was awesome. I was able to go to a regular public school. I had spent my middle school years in like what you call alternative schools, I don't know who came up with the idea of taking all the troubled kids and putting them in the same school. I mean, just brilliance, All I did was pick up more bad habits. So I ended up having this transformational experience at camp, kept me out of a lot of trouble going through high school. It was very popular because of the music. And then right before I graduated, or maybe into my 11th grade year, a demo of mine ended up on the desk of an A&R from a big record label under the Universal. It was a Virgin Records. Okay. And so I'm like, wow, this is about to pop off. I'm going to make it. And then all of a sudden, they dropped the bomb on me. They went 50 was big back then. 50 was really big. And I hadn't did work with 50, but I did some work with the game, I worked with Young Buck. This is after they were like, as they were leaving G Unit, the whole everything. And so I was very, very excited. And
Mhm.
they really wanted this gangster music, and that just wasn't who I was. So I was at
Right.
this conflict. And then finally I gave into it, thinking that I'll just make the music, but I won't change who I am. And then slowly but surely my circle started to change. And so my
Oh,
wife,
yeah.
who's been my wife since I was 16, I've been with my wife since I was 16 years old. So when I was
Wow.
around her, I was one way. When I was with my guys, I was a different way. So eventually, over time, it led me down this very, very dark hole. I put out some records. Some people seen the success, they got jealous. I got into a kill or be killed situation with another rapper, and then
Oh,
that's what
wow.
led me back into spirituality. Literally, a friend of
Wow.
mine tried to
Okay.
kill somebody. They were going to come after me. And after that, that caused me to change my life. So I started going back to the Bible, but I really got fascinated by the story between God and the Jewish people. That was really what took me in. And so that really became like my everyday. I started fasting for several days. I was going out, spending hours and hours in prayer, meditation. And then eventually that led to my Jewish journey where I am now. And I moved to Jerusalem about 10 years ago.
Okay.
And me, my wife, my kids, my brother-in-law, sister-in-law, all of us, we done peppered up the neighborhood really nicely.
I
And
like it. I like it. I
that's
love
who
it.
I am today. Yeah. So
So
I've been performing, and then I got into talking about, I don't even know how this even happened. I'm gonna be honest with you. I just saw the world start falling apart in 2020, man. That's what happened. That's what really happened. 2020 was
2020
the
is the
moment
year.
where, wasn't it? Like that was when the world just seemed like it was. And just to give you some background, like I'm extremely, I guess to the average person, I'm probably crazy fanatically religious. So I didn't have no internet for the last, I don't know how many years up until Corona, maybe 10 years, 15 years, something like in between 10 and 15 years, I didn't have internet. I didn't have a smartphone. I I, I was traveling around the world, with a dumb phone, you know what I'm saying?
Right,
Holding
right.
up paper itineraries, everything. And so by the time 2020 hit, Corona happens, Trump wasn't the homie no more. You know what I'm saying? Like
Oh, yeah.
the man and the woman, like I mean, the whole world, it seemed like for me, it seemed like I came out of a cave. And this is while traveling, but I wasn't. Just goes to show how you could be, in the world, but not really partaking or understanding the things that's going on in the world at the same time. But yeah, so eventually I started talking about it.
I love it. I love it. Well, thank you, man, for being transparent. Tell us a little bit about your history. What would you say, just in your parlance and talking with people, what's something that people really don't understand about you?
What people don't really understand about me is I am a very, very intuitive but purpose driven person, right? So
Okay.
everything that drives me is my purpose. And I'm really I talk a lot about the crisis of what I feel is going on right now in today's
Mhm.
generation, but I'm really a positive person. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I really have great outlook, and I think the reason why is because I'm so purpose driven. I'm on some we already won type thing. You know what I mean?
Facts.
I
Yeah.
really, I really am. I try to spend at least 1 hour every day secluded talking with God. I go out
I
here.
got you.
There's a place called the Valley of Sorek. If you look up in your Bible, I think it's in the book of Judges. This is the place where Samson met Delilah, actually.
Okay.
There's a place called Sora. It overlooks the valley and I'm there every single morning with God, and I talk with him. And I'm so purpose driven that it really drives everything that I know. So I'm a very intentional person, I should say, about myself. But a lot of
Okay.
people don't think. No, nothing's random.
I love it. I love it. I will admit, persons that
Mhm,
find themselves rooted in scripture, and I will
mhm,
say rooted in Christ, and we can have a discussion a little bit more if we need to, but rooted in
mhm.
Christ tend to look at the world differently than those who have no anchoring and no mooring, no foundation. It's very
Mhm.
difficult to find joy, peace, and a positive outlook or be
Right.
optimistic about the world. As you said, we've already
Mhm,
won. It's hard to believe
mhm.
you won if you haven't talked to the one who's winning,
Right.
who's won.
Right.
So there,
That is
if I'm expecting this cup to win, I'm in trouble, right?
exactly.
So
No, I hear you.
but conversing and knowing that he's already won and we are in him
Mhm.
changes our perspective. It makes the world much more palatable. So as
Right.
as we were talking, and it's
Go
funny
ahead,
that
go
both
ahead.
of us probably got started on YouTube or making content in 2020. My first video went up on September 11th, 2020.
What?
Yeah, my first video was September 11th, 2020. And again, like I remember what the world was like on September 8th before I did it. Or, I remember it was like in 2016. But
right.
A lot of people started on that in 2020 or 2021 even. But go ahead.
Now, I was going to say, you made a very interesting point, because I'm not so much. I think both Christian. I think everybody loves, not just a Christian thing, but everybody loves apologetics. I'm not an apologetics person because my worldview is very different. My father, by the way, is a pastor. Changed his life. He became a pastor. He's a theologian. Founded a Bible college. He's now a professor at a Bible college. He also runs now the addiction program. Well, he was running the addiction program. I actually have to check in with him to see if he's still running the addiction program. And this is a person who used to sell drugs. Major transformation. Wow. So even though my life ultimately has been changed on my Jewish journey, I see my father and I say that absolutely has to be God. Now, we may disagree about these things, but we all come to the same point. I saw a very beautiful interview going back and forth between Jordan Peterson and Ben Shapiro. And it's a very interesting thing. When I think of the end goal of how I want to mirror my life and what my life to be, I look into the Torah. I see how things are supposed to be, and I have books of ethics. I have all those things, but there is a goal of what that looks like. When a Christian wants to get to a particular place, they look at Christ and they say, "Look at how he lived his life," and they want to get to the. Everybody's trying to get to the same place in terms of what we're trying to. I'm not talking about in the afterlife, but there's certain amount of ethics and morality and clarity I think that everybody share. Now, our disagreements are the biggest parts of the end game, right? Find this fascinating. I don't know if you want to go here or not, but I think this is something very, very fascinating. What's fascinating by this is that usually in eschatology, the way the Christians see the world, everybody believes in a utopian peace. And at least I would say between Christians and Jews, we both believe the Messiah is going to come. He's going to reign from Jerusalem. We believe in all the prophecies that are given in biblical prophecy from the prophets, from Isaiah, Ezekiel, Jeremiah, everything. The question that we're all going to have, Rabbi Riskin said something one time, it was very controversial, but it was actually a very beautiful thing. He said, we'll all run out and we'll ask him, did you get here the first time or are you here for the second time? The other thing here, though, is, which is quite interesting, is that the biggest conflict, if you look at eschatology from Islam, if you look at the Islamic hadiths, you look at Christianity, it's almost like a course collision, they say, of who the Mahdi is versus the Antichrist versus, it's very fascinating. If you look at Judaism, it's very interesting. Our biggest conflict, honestly, is a few different passages. You look at Zechariah 8, look at Jeremiah 15, and the end of, and which is a lot of debate about what Paul actually meant by this when he said that all of Israel be saved. I'll leave that for Christians to debate it more than I will. However, at the end of the day, there's one thing that we say also, based off what the scripture actually tells us. It says tens from the Gentile nations will come and grab the tzitzit, the hem of him who was a Jew. Now, I've heard Christian apologists say him means him, but in Hebrew, it actually says like them, as in them. The word there is plural because of the way Hebrew actually works. Now, as them, and they will say, I will go with you, for I've heard that God is with you. So all the passages there's not only one, there is the Jewish people and the nations, the choice nations that have aligned themselves with God and with Israel, the God of Israel, who all will stream up to Jerusalem together, hand in hand. Shechem echad, as we would say, shoulder to shoulder. So everybody agrees. It just depends on who we believe is right when we get there. So that's basically where it all ends at.
Okay. No, I totally get it. And my goal was to have first of all, people have been asking, hey, when are you going to connect with Nissam? And I said, I like his content.
I love your stuff.
Well, thank you, man. I said, I've highlighted the brother's stuff before, man. I said, we got to make this happen. And I really wanted to just, hear your voice, hear your story. If you don't mind, I have a couple other questions, but then also I want to hear your perspective as somebody who is from the United States, living abroad and looking at some of the things that we're looking at today. And we're going to talk about the Karmello Anthony case, particularly because I would love to hear your perspective on it. Again, as a brother, from the West Coast that went to the far East Coast, and I want to hear what your thoughts are on that. You said you've been married since you were 16, so that means what, about 8 years, give or take, 9 years?
Yeah, we started dating when we were 16. We had 2 weddings. We had our first wedding in 2008, and then 2013 after our conversion, we had a second wedding. And so I said, if she married you twice, then you know she's a keeper.
Well, there you go. You got a contract.
We're living here in Israel. Yeah.
I love it. You got a contract extension like nobody's business. I love it. So I bet mine only married me once. I'm like, got me sweating, got me worried. Like, oh man, we've been married 25 years. I got 2. If you don't mind, how many little people y'all got?
We have 7. Yeah.
Wait, hold on. Wait. Wait, did you say the number after 6? Did you say 7?
That's it. 7.
Bro, I got to tap out. Good gracious, man.
Yeah.
You got a whole
21 years we've been together, and 7 little ones have come out of that. My eldest is actually graduating high school in a few days. So,
wow, congratulations, man.
Yeah,
congratulations. You got me beat by a mile, but I love it.
You should have heard it. Years ago, I interviewed when I first started podcast. I think in 2020, I was interviewing Fat Man Scoop, rest in peace. And he told me, and at the time, I only had 6 kids. And he said to me, "You got 6 kids?" He said, "Man, that's a starting lineup with one coming off the bench."
Yeah. Now you got another alternate, man. You filling the zone. You flooding the zone. So what I've been doing, Nissam, is talking about some of our law cases that have been going on, and of course, this Karmello Anthony case has had the news cycle in a chokehold, to say the least. And I would love to hear. I got a couple of articles, a couple of people are doing boots on the ground, citizen journalism, and such like that, and a couple of articles we could look at. But I'd like to know: do you have an opinion on it from the word? I mean, before we watch anything.
And it's just horrible, man. It's a horrible situation. And I think I'll say it like this. I don't know. One thing I did not investigate that I wish I would have looked in more. I don't know what the father situation was like in this situation, but to claim self-defense, when if you got 10 guys on you, you got 20 guys on you, you may have a case for that. But I think that this is, I don't know what his father's situation is, but my guess would be that this is another case of a young man not having enough masculine energy in his life, and it just goes to show. I mean, and the audacity that people have, and I understand if there was somebody who came who really was well to do, and they said, I'll help him, with his case, but they got to go fund me of like over $600,000 last time I checked, of just straight up race baiting, just nonsense. I can't even understand how people could come to that. They would have the audacity. And it just goes to show the moral decay of what we're dealing with today, where people are just literally, they have lost themselves. The villains become good guys, and the good guys become villains, and everything's backwards. It's the book of Isaiah, chapter 5, right? That was called evil. Became good, and that was good because it became evil. It's a very, very sad situation, unfortunately. So that's my take on it. I don't think that he's innocent, but it is sad, and I feel that not enough masculine energy is my thoughts. But I didn't look into whether or not his father was there. But sometimes not having a toxic father is as bad as not having one. To be honest, that's my good answer.
I don't know, man. I'm gonna have to push back a little bit. I'm gonna push back a little bit because I don't think my father was super positive masculine. I think in definitely today's parlance, my dad would be considered toxic masculinity.
Really?
He'd have been considered toxic. But one thing I can say for a fact, I can call my brother without having to go through the 1-800 jail phone. I can call my sister without going through the jail phone. My other brother without going to the jail phone. My dad might not have been perfect, and sure, he might have been, if they want to use in the common parlance today, toxic masculinity, but none of his children are in jail.
No. And by the way, so I understand.
I was just saying, and it wasn't.
I'm not saying toxicity in terms of masculinity. I'm saying just toxic father, meaning that sometimes to have a father that's there, that's lazy, don't get off the couch, don't handle his business and all that,
Mhm.
these are probably much, God forbid I would call them feminine traits, but in the sense the woman's to be taken care of, the woman's
Yeah,
to
yeah,
be, you know what I'm saying? So what I'm talking about, sometimes having a father that is not there handling his business. I don't care about how masculine he is. I don't care if he put that belt
gotcha.
to the tush. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm just saying that there's usually two factors. It's either no father or a father there that is, it's like he ain't there in the first place. Right.
Facts.
So that's what I mean. Yeah,
I
you're
got
right.
you. And I was actually just pushing back on some of the toxic masculinity narratives, not what
Yeah, I
you
agree.
said specifically, but just on
I
the
agree with
narrative in
you.
general, because what we're missing in today is the kind of behavior. I'm assume you and I are probably around the same age. I don't know. How old are you? Do you mind me asking?
I'm 39. I'm 39.
Oh no, we're not even in the ballpark. Never mind. Dang, bro.
You don't,
Dang,
you
man.
don't look a day over 19, man. What you talking about?
Oh my gosh, man. No, man. No. I'm in the AARP. This is over here in the romper room still. Good gracious, man. All right. Well, okay. Well, maybe possibly our fathers around the same age, but and I'm like, when we're looking at society today, we do see what's missing from our fathers' generation in the men of today and the children that are coming up, the young men coming up today, is that ability to be a man, hold ourselves in frame, keep our emotions in check, and deal with what needs to be done in order for the good of everybody. And I do think that's what we're ultimately missing. So I do want to look at, if you don't mind, I do want to pull in this news article. Let's talk about it very quickly. All right, so this is Fox, just a couple hours ago, going over this. I don't know if you've been keeping up with the trial. They seated their jury. So a lot of people in their feelings because the jury is all white. It seems like a pretty mix of male, female, but it's not. There's no black people on the jury. So apparently, well, I want to hear what you think about it, but let's go ahead and pull this in. Green hearts in the chat, everybody, when you can hear.
D-Vigor, within the last hour, a jury has been chosen to decide the closely watched murder trial of Karmello Anthony.
More than 500 people were on the list of potential jurors, but the jury will not include anyone who is black, despite this case being racially charged. Fox 4's Alex Boyer joining us now. Alex.
Hey guys, good evening. That's right. You know, and I can tell you that a court spokesperson confirmed that there are indeed no black jurors on this panel. And I can tell you that before this jury panel was seated, the defense objected to 3 black women being struck by the prosecution. Now, the prosecution contended that it was due to the fact that the women were educators, noting that this incident happened at a school function with young students. The defense then pointed out that those were three of those were 100% of the available black jurors in what's called the strike zone, adding that the state struck all 3. The judge went out and reviewed their questionnaires and came back and said that the defense's challenge to the 3 jurors being dismissed was denied. The judge said the court found that the state had non-racial means to strike the jurors. Now, background, Karmello Anthony, 17 at the time, is accused of fatally stabbing 17-year-old Austin Metcalf last year at a Frisco ISD track meet. Anthony was reportedly sitting under a tent for a school that he did not attend. Witnesses say the two got into an argument and Anthony stabbed Metcalf in the chest. Metcalf died in his twin brother's arms. Police said that Anthony told them he acted in self-defense. Now, this case has become racially charged, fueled in large part by online speculation, rumors, and misinformation. On Wednesday, attorneys for both sides got an hour and 45 minutes to question the reduced poll of these potential jurors. They were questioned on their views on a variety of topics, including race, how they felt about serving on this case, and if they would hold it against the defendant if he chose not to testify on his own behalf. The defense also tried to gauge if the potential jurors would be uncomfortable giving Anthony a lower sentence if there is a guilty verdict. I talked to a jury consultant about the process so far.
It's an excellent team on both sides. I believe Bill Worski has, he's a veteran prosecutor. He's tried some very high-profile cases. And then Toby Shook has been both a prosecutor and a criminal defense attorney. And then Mike Howard is an excellent criminal defense attorney as well. And they, along with the DA, it's going to be a very well-tried case.
And I did speak with Allison Richardson before the jury was sat, so I did not have a chance to ask her about these late-breaking developments. Now, this high-profile case continues to draw supporters and spectators to the Collin County Courthouse. We saw another group of folks demonstrating at the entrance of the courthouse this afternoon. We expect that to continue throughout the trial, which the judge hopes to have wrapped up by the end of next week. And I can tell you that 19-year-old Karmello Anthony was in court today for the proceedings. He was wearing a suit with a tie and a purple shirt, which is also the color many of his supporters have been wearing. He did take some notes during the proceedings. I can also tell you that there does appear to be some minorities on this jury panel. Again, however, none of them are African American. Opening statements begin tomorrow at 9 a.m. Back to you.
Okay, Alex Boyer in Frisco, thanks.
And a reminder, Fox 4 will bring you extensive coverage of the Karmello Anthony trial. You can keep up with the latest court developments on fox4news.com.
We'll bring that back in. All right. Give me your thoughts, my friend. Give me your thoughts.
So it's complicated. And I wish there were black jurors. And I'm gonna tell you why. I don't think it's not because I think that they would probably have more compassion on him, but I think that this gives people another reason, right, to say that he didn't get a fair trial. It's another reason for them to say, oh, that is wrong. So if there's black jurors also on there, I don't care if it's predominantly black. The evidence is the evidence. And if he gets convicted under that, then nobody can say after that, oh, it's because he didn't have anybody there that was black and they didn't understand. I'm like, I don't think that really matters. Now, in the grand scheme of things, the way that they're going to decide, obviously, they're going to want, as honest and truthful people as they can as jurors. And I think the idea and the hope is that they're not also going to be, part of Team Nick Fuentes or anything like that. So I don't think that in a normal case where we are in America is sensitive right now, because I think that we've done so much with wokeism that we have pushed some people the other way that they never thought that they felt those ways, but they come into their feelings. So I do wish that there were black people who were on the jury, just because I do think that he's wrong, and unfortunately he'll probably be convicted. But the truth of the matter is that we don't want it being because, oh, there was no black people on the jury. So that's my opinion with that.
No, I agree with you 100% that it gives fodder to the people that are just going to raise Cain no matter what. You already know, when you take your child to the grocery store, they're going to scream and kick and fuss when you go down the cereal aisle. Why hype them up on sugar before you go to the grocery store? Why do that? Why give them some other reason, another means by which to express their inability to control their emotions, which, by the way, I think is kind of crazy. But I think it's weird to push that and make the assumption that a person of less melanin, somebody who's not black, is not going to follow the law. Right. That's kind of you're saying, because a lot of people are saying, well, he's going to get an unfair trial because there's nobody black. So are you assuming that a black person is going to look at the evidence? And so we got, Rayshawn look at the evidence, and then we got Jim Bob look at the evidence, and they're going to come to a different conclusion just because they're black and white? Because I thought y'all didn't do that. It does seem very inconsistent that, hey, we can't be inconsistent like this and say, well, Nissam is going to judge Jason differently than Jim Bob is going to judge Jason. Because Nissam and Jason are both highly melanated and Jim Bob is white. So the white man is going to look at the law differently than Nissam is. Based on what? Where are we getting that from?
No, I think the idea is, and what you're saying is absolutely right, but I think the idea is that they are hoping that they will have somebody on there that will go along with essentially tribalism, right? You know what I'm saying? Like, by us, for us, we're going to take care of our own. You know what I mean? And it's very ironic because our community as a whole, we don't be looking out for each other like that. So it's only when it comes. I said our community.
Could you say it a little louder for the people? Could you say a little bit louder for the people in the other time zone? Because I don't think they heard that. I might have to give you a big screen for that. Hold on. Say it again, brother.
I said the community as a whole, we don't look out for each other like that. So the idea of looking out for each other, it only comes up when there's when there's a white person on the other side of the aisle. All right. What about all the, like it's common to say, but like nobody's making marches and making initiatives about what's going on in Chicago or not. I mean, I'm sure there's organizations, but they're not
like this.
Not like this. It's never like this. When have we seen a case of when somebody black killed somebody else who was black and it's got national, international, ramifications and it's being publicized? It doesn't happen. So the whole thing in itself, it's just tribalism, and it's another reason to be upset that somebody's not there to basically show up the other side, basically to vindicate somebody who shouldn't be vindicated.
Yeah. Let me give you an example. In a suburb of Chicago, which is called the Southland, Dalton, Illinois, I think about 2 weeks ago, please forgive me, there was a young man who was deleted outside of a black establishment. The owner of the black cigar bar is the one that deleted the young man. Two black men. Big deal in Dalton. It has barely left the state lines. Very few people are talking about it anywhere else. But in Chicago, in the Southland, everybody's talking about it. That would be a perfect example of what we're talking about right here. Where y'all at protesting this? What happened there? And to the degree that y'all are protesting Karmello Anthony versus Austin Metcalf, you just won't see it. You just don't see it.
And it goes against even codes, though. Like the code of the street, really. My sister, she's now maybe 31. When she was 13 years old, she was shot. My sister got shot.
Oh, wow.
Thank God she survived. But her friend who was next door, he was 15. He got killed. I knew the shooter. I knew the shooter since he was 4 or 5 years old. How I know the shooters, the police didn't know the shooters. He never got convicted for the whole thing. Why? Because the streets not only did they not, have any outrage, they weren't talking because they didn't want to talk to authorities. I came back a few years later. I went to go visit, and my sister was like, you became a little more famous. You need to be talking about all the police, man. These kids are getting shot out here and all this and ain't nobody talking. Like, what?
But y'all ain't been talking about that.
Ain't nobody talking about what like nobody wanted to say anything. Like, and that's what I'm saying. The code of streets is because what's that called? That's called a snitch. That's what that's called snitching. Right? Somebody gets shot by white person. It's got to be national news. We want everybody to know. Take it to the streets. Tell everybody you snitching. Like, so you can't. It's inconsistent with the way things actually work. You know what I mean? And how it works in the streets. So I think that it's just so hypocritical in its nature.
No, I agree with you 100%. I've said this before. Part of the problem is that we don't self-police our own community. We don't say like, no, we're not going to, no, the code. I'm going to tell you right now, my name is Jason. I'm going to snitch on you. You can give it up. Don't even waste your time trying to tell me, don't even waste the energy to try to tell me no. I'm calling the police after I see it. It's over. It's a wrap. Because I believe that we need to police, but there has been no blessing to the highly melanated community. There's been no blessing to the highly melanated community at all through the idea that we don't snitch. By us not policing our own neighborhoods and us not saying that, hey, Lil Nissam, that's not appropriate, my guy. What you did over there at the bodega, you need to go back over there and apologize to that man and take his stuff back. By us not doing this and by us not correcting ourselves, now outside don't take us seriously when there is true matters of racism or true matters of partiality, true matters where it's a real affront. They're like, you don't get a mad. That's why everybody immediately, whenever somebody talks about a white cop killing a black person, the immediate retort is, what about black on black crime?
Right.
And that's the reason they say that is because we don't do anything about it. We don't say anything about it until we actually say, hey, let's use Chicago. Hey, that teen takeover, that stuff is foolishness. And black folks start doing something about it. Then people take you seriously. But at the current moment, nobody takes us seriously when there's something that maybe was a real, true problem where a person of less melanin killed a black person. Right. Yeah. And people are like, well, that's a real issue. You're right. But y'all don't care about this. So why you care about that? Right. And that's where I think we
what my mother used to say? My mother used to tell me, people treat your house like you do. Right. So if you treat your house in a particular way, you ain't picking up after yourself, and don't expect people to come and keep your place tidy. It's just not going to be. So I 1000% agree with you. And we've degraded. I remember watching things, go down, and it happened very, very fast. I remember after the year I graduated high school, I went back a couple years later, and I remember going on. I went to one of the football games, and not only were my team, my former school, they were getting stumped by a team we used to beat by like 40 points. That's one story. The next thing was I'm looking on the side, and I'm just looking at some of the boys. One guy's sagging his football uniform and all these other, and one guy didn't have his head all picked up. Like if we weren't suited for the game, we were still suited and booted. Everybody took accountability. Us who were captains on the team, we were checking everybody. If somebody's grades wasn't right, they were hearing about it. Like, and I'm seeing over there, one guy's he's bucking up to the coach like he's about to hit him. Like, and I was like, whoa. And I went to the principal and I asked him, I said, Mr. Gary, like, what's going on? He says, we have never in all our years seen such a drop off in the generation from the time you guys graduated to the next guys. He said it was drastic. And it's hard for me to see that, because when I think about what's going on in the streets right now, it didn't happen all the time, but you did have those ones. I had one guy, Jimmy Jam. I don't know if last I knew he was in prison.
Terry
Lewis? I remember him seeing me. No. It's a different guy, Jimmy Jam. He's one of his streets name. Street names get recycled.
There you go.
So I remember him. I was at a bus stop one day and I was walking, one part, in between hoods, and he seen me. And he was like, he looked at me and he said, Black, he said, man, you need to stick with this music stuff. You don't need to be out here, right? You don't need to be out here. And I would never forget when he said that to me. It made me felt that somebody really, really cared and that he was looking out for me. I don't know if we have guys in the community now who would say that to somebody. Like, I've talked to some of these young guys. My mother used to have a voice when she was on the phone with the electric company or some professional call, and she had a different voice when she was talking to her cousin. Today, there's no phone etiquette, no nothing, have no difference, can't take a job interview, and it's like basic things. And the society has changed so much, and it's it's going to take a miracle, but it definitely is going to take some effort. But you're right, little boy that cried wolf.
Yeah, and I think and I've said this before, there's a lot of things that the highly melanated community, Black people, need to, we need to have a little family meeting, if you will, and talk about and discuss things that we need to resolve that have nothing to do with white people. There's nothing to do with white people.
Absolutely.
The fact here in the United States that so many little Black boys and girls are born in a household without a dad, that has nothing to do with Jim Bob next door. That has nothing to do with Sally Jane down the street. We need to have a conversation about why it is that we wholesale promiscuity in our communities. We elevate it. Don't tell me the government pays for it because you make the choice to lay down and do the thing that you did the thing. So why is it that why are we okay with so many of our children when just our grandparents generation, that was unheard of? So we need to have a conversation, and that has nothing. Don't tell me about systemic anything except the systemic act of you putting your dangling places it don't need to go. My name is Jason, jwitt@jwitt.com. It just seems like there's something, and we're quick to blame everybody else. I joke about it because I was like, I have white neighbors all around me. Right. And I guarantee you, I don't know this for a fact. I haven't bugged my neighbor's house. Don't worry. I don't bug your house. I'm pretty sure my neighbors don't wake up in the morning like, dang it, Jason's alive. Oh gosh, Jason. They don't care. They don't care. They just don't care. They're minding their own business. Just like I'm minding my own business. They're not worried about, oh man, that Black family's awake. Oh, why did they die? They don't care. The problem, I guess the question I'm asking is, why do you care so much about what you think white people think about you? Take care of yourself. And I think
so bad.
It's very bad. All right, let's go. Let's look at another one real quick. And I'm glad to hear your insight on this. By the way, thank you so much to the best live chat on the internet. We got Nissam Black up in the building. We're talking about Karmello Anthony. So let's go.
This is what we have followed very closely from the beginning. Karmello Anthony accused of killing Austin Metcalf last spring at a high school track meet. And now the jury starts hearing the case. Janelle Ford is live at the Collin County Courthouse with the latest. Okay, Janelle, what's going on?
Well, Kara, here outside of the courtroom, it's been fairly quiet throughout the morning. Only a handful of people have been gathered at the back of the parking lot. And then inside, the first witness has already taken the stand in this case. And remember, there is no audio, there's no video, no live stream of this trial. So we are relying right now on our team of journalists and legal experts inside of the courtroom to keep us updated throughout all of this. So I want to walk you through what this morning has been like so far. It started.
Okay, I gotta get a little build up. Wow, I did not. This thing, he does want this done next week.
Yeah, they want it done. They want this done.
Oh, wow.
Quickly. I mean, listen, it becomes in every single way, it becomes a distraction, man. With these cases being drug out, they become a distraction. And we've seen this over and over, especially these race cases. We're just not in it. Listen, the world has changed, man.
Yeah.
I'm saying since 2024, I mean, think about how many of these companies were celebrating Pride Month and that they ain't celebrating anymore. Yeah, I mean, look at the NFL. You don't see nothing. You don't see nothing from a lot of these people because either, you know, what I really feel is a lot of them have felt, they feel liberated, basically, that they have the willingness, you know, I think somebody went on Chick-fil-A, put up a flag, Chick-fil-A say, listen, we ain't with that. Like this ain't
right.
You know, and people, and I'm only using that as an example to say that the world ain't what it is. And so I can imagine with the prosecutors, the judge, whatever, whoever's moving along this case, and saying like, listen, we're not doing no riots, we're not doing any of that. The world has changed. We're getting back to a normal place. We get to a place where we're gonna hear the case out. Let's get it done. And we don't need to make nothing for TV. So I think that's the reason why they're moving along so fast.
Let me add to what you're saying about it's a big distraction. Do you know how many other court cases are going on inside this building while this is happening? Do you know how many?
I can't even imagine. I couldn't even imagine.
You know why you can't imagine? Because there are none. This whole entire building has been emptied out except for the Karmello Anthony case. So you can't go for your traffic. You got a speeding ticket. You got to go somewhere else. You got to argue about a DUI. You got to go somewhere else. Nothing is going on in this building except Karmello Anthony.
Wow.
That's it. So again, you got a ticket for shoplifting. You got to go somewhere else. Like that, nothing is going on in this building except that. So I agree with you. They're probably like, look, man, this is inefficient. This is crazy work that this whole entire, and it's actually a really nice courthouse. I'm looking at, I've seen some other picture of it. It's actually a nice building. Like this whole entire building is changed because of this person. Can you imagine the man hours? Can you imagine the amount of resources that are going into this from sheriffs and police officers and deputies and all this stuff just for this one case and all that's going on in that building?
But who decides that this gets national attention? Is that what I'm saying? Like, who decide that? Was that because so many people picked up this story in the podcast world? Was that because it's not the only case. I mean, biracial cases happen a lot, right? So who decided that this be the case that gets national attention? You understand what I'm saying?
I'm not going to be popular for saying this, but I do believe that this is, I do believe that this is by design, because you got a young black man, a young white man. There's a lot of dynamics if you just follow the tropes. If you just click the tropes,
right?
Texas. Right. Young, somebody deleted somebody. I mean, you just click down the boxes and you get enough. You're like, well, and then let me look at another case. You got a black, but it's another black person. I'm not gonna get a lot of interest in that. He's an old street dude. I'm not gonna get a lot of interest in that. It's in Chicago. It's up in the Midwest. I'm not gonna get. Let's go with this one. I do believe that this is by design. The interest level is by design, and I talked about it a little bit when it happened. And I said that I was going to, I actually have family in Frisco, Texas. And I said, I might just go. The devil is a liar. So I do think that that's part of it. And I mean, that's my take on it, that it's more design than, it's not organic.
Yeah, it's not organic. I agree.
Not organic at all. All right, let's keep this going. And by the way, I love her green. By the way, green hearts in the chat when y'all can hear.
With opening statements after a number of pretrial motions, and the defense and the prosecution got about 20 minutes for those opening statements. It started with the prosecution, who called this a, quote, unjustified, provoked murder, and told jurors Anthony plunged a knife into Austin
Unprovoked. She said provoked. Okay, just
Metcalf's heart and ran away. Now, the state said surveillance video from the track meet will be important, telling jurors that the video tells the story. Prosecutors said Anthony went to Memorial High School's team tent during the rain, was told to leave, then taunted and provoked Metcalf before stabbing him. So then next, we heard from the defense. They told jurors that there has been a lot of noise around this case, a lot of false information. They described Anthony as a son, a brother, a 3.7 GPA student athlete. The defense said Anthony went under the memorial tent to get out of the rain, knew people that were under there, and that things were initially calm. Now, Mike Howard, Karmello's defense attorney, said the video will show some things, but it won't show everything. And the defense said Anthony told Metcalf, quote, as long as you don't touch me, we're cool, and argued that Metcalf made the first physical contact. Now, Howard said Anthony acted in fear and chaos. We also learned that Anthony suffers from epilepsy. So then the first witness was called to the stand. That's Mark Porter, a forensic video analyst from Tarrant County. Inside the courtroom right now, both families are seated. They're on opposite sides. We also got our first look at the jury. The panel appears to include at least 9 women, several people of color, including a woman that was wearing a hijab. And then remember, there were questions about demographics of this jury panel yesterday. So what's happening next? Court is going to go on until lunchtime. They'll take a break, and then we'll continue until 6 o'clock this evening. I'll send it back to you in the studio.
Thank you for the insight and the update, Janelle. From start to finish, we are bringing you complete coverage of what's happening inside the courtroom.
All right.
Make sure to watch after the trial on WFA.
all right. So so every night we've been doing like an update. This will just be my update for today, and I'll do an update tomorrow, maybe like a weekend wrap up for the first week. What did you think about that so far?
So, I mean, it's just, like I said, it's a sad case. My question though is, what's he doing with the knife anyway? He was at a track meet. I mean, there's a lot of. Go ahead. I mean, maybe.
I was going to bring that up because part of the self-defense argument is that if you and I are in proximity of somebody or in each other's proximity, and me and you have an issue, in Georgia we have stand your ground, but Texas, I mean, it's very much stand your ground. I ain't got to run at all, and I can meet you with force. The problem is if you and I are standing in the middle of the street, duking it out, is different than you and I were standing on a playground at an elementary school shooting it out.
Right.
Sure,
Right.
we got constitutional carry. The problem is you're not supposed to be carrying on school grounds.
School grounds.
So
right.
therein is I really want to hear. That's why I really wish this was being streamed so we could all hear it. I want to hear how they justify. Sure, you could, if me and Nissam out here duking it out on the street and we pull out knives and we go old school beat it, like Michael Jackson and beat it, and we try to stab each other, then that's one thing. But if we're over here at the local elementary school and we break out in the middle of the cafeteria and start doing that, that's different because you're not supposed to have those weapons on school grounds. So I don't know how they fix that, because sure, he was justified, but your problem is he was at a school. You can't beat that. It's a school. So I don't know how they fix that and square that peg that he had a weapon on school grounds.
Wow. Yeah, that part I didn't even think about that. But still, I think it just says a lot about it. I'm usually not a what but a why guy, right?
Okay.
So my questions always go back to why would he had the knife in the first place? So I don't know what the situation was prior to this, but I'm assuming, there's it's the generational thing where nobody could take a butt whooping type of thing. Like if he's mopping them up and he was losing, sometimes you just got to take that L. You fight back. If you can't win, you can't win. I just still trying to figure out the grounds of where it comes to taking out the knife and stabbing somebody. Now, if you got it, then you're more than likely to probably do something like that. If your pride's being hurt, it's in front of a lot of people. And I think that's probably where it was coming from. But it's still bothersome for me that he had the knife in the first place. I carried weapons. I carried weapons because That was
You
a part
needed-
of the culture. And if
He was
there were
doing
people
things.
who,
Right.
yeah, exactly. So generally having one, especially at a track meet, it's just hard for me to justify him having the weapon in the first place, let alone
Facts.
using it. So yeah, but I'm like you. I wish they were streaming this so we could get more insight to what was going on.
Yeah. And I think because there's just too many questions that we have. And I think we're not going to get it. So we listen to Fox, we listen to the local news in Texas. We listen to, this is international. So there going to be international reporters there. We're going to get different stories. And I would be like, man, I would love for us all to hear the exact same thing at the same time from, who was it? A video forensic expert. So if we all heard the video forensic expert together, we could all like, okay, we can't argue what he said. But if Nissam is listening to somebody in his home, in his town that's reporting on it, and I'm listening to somebody here in Georgia, and realtors listen to somebody in Texas, it's very possible we're going to have a different, it's a very bad game of, a Chinese telephone, so to speak. And I really think we might be, that's the only thing I wish we could, again, just stream it so we could all hear it at the same time. We can still parse it out and still disagree. But at least we won't disagree what he said, because I've heard people already say it wasn't a knife, it was a file. I've heard people say some kind of cleat cleaner and all that kind of stuff. Like, see, we're gonna be here all night,
all day, because when you don't have everything there. At the end of the day, the case in and of itself is an extremely sad case because nobody wins. There is no justice for this. Like, the boy's not coming back. This boy's possibly his life and or reputation will be destroyed no matter what. If he beats the case, the reputation is destroyed. If he ends up in prison, which is probably the more likely situation, then his life is destroyed. And so all the parents lose in this type of situation. So I think this is, like I said, bigger societal issue of what's going on in the particularly, like I said, in the Black community. I don't understand. I would love to know more about this boy. I would really love to know more about this boy, because a lot of what's missing from these cases a lot of times is that we can't take these isolated situations. I'm saying for us, the court, they have to decide on the information that's in front of them. I'm saying as we speculate, we talk about these things, like we have to really think about, like, in these type of situations, what is the backstory of the boys? Is the other guy, Metcalf, was he a bully? You know what I'm saying?
That's a good question.
Was there, they say that they didn't know each other prior to, but, in the spirit of competition, sports can get very, it could get, there were many fights at my high school. I think, when I was in high school, I think we were number one in the country in basketball. So we had ballers. Nate Robinson was on our team. We were really good. But there was a couple teams that we knew that there was people showing up ready to fight, you know what I'm saying, every time that we played particular teams. So you get those, it's a competitive thing. So sometimes those things happen, but in the heat of the moment, when you get to knives and all those other things, that brings some other disturbance. They mentioned he had epilepsy. I don't know if that has to do with having a knife. That usually causes seizures, from what I know.
You're right.
And I understand how that would have contributed to his anger, at least in that place. And maybe I don't know enough about epilepsy.
Yeah, I don't get it either. They also yesterday talked about how the defense attorney is going to call him Mello and not Karmello, which is his full name. And I'm like, what? Again, go ahead.
What?
Yeah,
like,
they're calling him, the defense attorney is calling him Mello. So I'm calling you little knee or something like that. Give you like personally, I think it's to make him look very juvenile.
Right.
Right. They already said he's like, he cut his hair off. He looks very polished, but he looks very young. So when your son go gets a haircut, he done had this bush on his head for a minute. You cut his hair down, get that line up. He looks younger.
Presentable.
And so he looks presentable. I'm not saying that even the big hair, even though I'm against big hair, is bad, but I think because of that, he makes him look younger. The reporter said yesterday, and I think this is part of it. So now, not only does he look younger, I'm calling him like a child's name, little knee, little black, or whatever you. whatever the equivalent name would be for you. But I think you see my point. So
yeah, you're right, Mello.
yeah,
Whatever.
and I see.
It's sad, man. It's a sad, very sad case, and it's so hard for me, the ramifications of such a case, of how much race goes into this, that it really ain't that deep. It just ain't
No,
that
really.
deep. And I think it's these are two kids. They had an issue, and it's being turned into something much bigger than what it is. It's very unfortunate.
And back to my initial point, I feel like it's by design that happens, because there's a group of people who, no matter what, are going to side with Karmello Anthony because of his ethnicity, his ethnic expression. And there's a group of people, no matter what, are going to side with Metcalf, no matter what, his ethnic expression. And I'm like, yeah, we need cooler heads to prevail. I don't need you to represent Metcalf. I don't need you to represent Karmello. I need us to represent truth and say, this is the truth. And we need to be able to say that. But just like what we said, like in the Black community, we're not willing to say hard things about our community and say, yeah, we need to deal with this issue.
No, it's true.
So I think that's the problem, if you will. We can say on a micro level in the Black community, we can say at a macro level, just humans in general, we become polarized, and we're quick to be polarized and don't realize we're being led around by our nose into stuff that if people thought about it, really sat back and looked at it, like, hold on now, what does this matter? Like, what is it this man did? No matter what he did kill somebody. That's wrong.
Right. Period.
Right. That's just it. Like, just like if it
Doesn't
would
mean he's the worst person in the world.
You know, he's the worst person in the world.
He made a horrific decision, at the wrong time, and unfortunately, it is what it is. But yeah, that's true. I think over vilifying him would be wrong also. But at the same time, defending behaviors that you can't, like you said, you got to be able to call these things out. And it's as much more about us when you're not willing to do that, because as you said, like the little boy he calls, well, like the premise is that always, these guys ain't gonna, and because you're that way, you push people into believing the other thing. That's what happens. They're naturally going to believe the other way because they're already used to you not calling anything out.
Correct.
So it's the same thing. It's creating a pattern, and like you said, this is intentional that they took this case. There's no doubt about it. There's a reason why this case is getting national press, like you said, and it continues. It has to continue. Now, I don't care if it's coming from the right or from the left, to be honest, because everybody needs somebody to keep talking about. These distractions are manufactured as they can. Like, who cared about UFOs like a few weeks ago when it comes out? Like, all of a sudden Epstein files or whatever. Like, they keep hooking us with these things to keep us distracted. There's a whole distraction behind it, and I'm really this to bring it back to where I think we both would agree. Is that all of these things where you have, race issues, whites versus black, or conservative versus liberals, and all these other stuff like that. And things can be very, very different in our opinion, but these are all coverings over a real spiritual battle, right?
Facts.
And what happens is, I seen this, I have to tell you this. This is mind blowing. I seen a pastor who there was a clip floating around of him asking ChatGPT, if you were the devil, what would you do? And I was fascinated at what it said. I was so fascinated at what it said. I want to check my ChatGPT and I want to see what it said. This is going to be crazy when I read this to you. And it's literally, it changes everything. I have to read this to you. Where's it at? Because I don't think it's about this bad. Okay, so the distraction. So I asked, if you were the devil, or if you were the Satan or Satan, how we say Satan in Hebrew, what would you do? He said, if I was trying to destroy people, families, nations, and souls, I probably would not start with obvious evil. I'd start with distraction. No horns, no red skin, no dramatic darkness, just endless noise. I make people too entertained to pray, too stimulated to think, too offended to forgive, too exhausted to reflect, too addicted to attention to sit in silence before God. I make them feel more comfortable. I make them feel more comfort was more important than truth. I convince people that morality is relative, right? That conviction is hate and that discipline is oppression. I make people worship self-expression while slowly losing their actual selves. And it goes on and on and on. I destroyed fathers by making them absent. I destroy mothers by making them feel unsupported. Destroy children by making screens raise them. Destroy marriages by replacing their marriage covenant with feelings. Right? It just went on and on and on. And I'm just like, bro, this is our fight right now, and everything is clothed in this, right? It's clothed behind, and what happens is this tribalism, like, oh yeah, we got to support him. And like, there was a few of these ICE cases, bro, and I'm saying as a conservative black male, I'm from Seattle. That's as left as you could go geographically, and that's as left as you could possibly go politically, right?
Right.
I never voted for a Democrat a day in my life. My father was a man of God, pastor, and told me from a young age, we vote Republican. That's what he told me, and that's what it was. So my first year up to vote was Obama, and I didn't vote for him. I met Obama, went to the White House. It was nice. All this other stuff, wasn't a big fan, but that's just is what it is. Now, I'm saying all that to say that the tribalism, what happens is that I saw a few of these cases that I was like, I don't know. And every person who was conservative was just like, no, this is that. And I'm like, I have eyes. I'm looking at this. I don't think this was handled right. And so when I'm looking at it, I'm saying, like, listen, it doesn't mean that I change all of my value. I'm saying that in this case in particular, this is wrong. And this does not look right. This doesn't pass the eye test for me. And I think that people not being able to being willing to call people out, they end up making whatever they're connecting their loyalty to their God.
Yep.
That's what happened. It replaces God for them. They're much more loyal to the side of whoever is saying, "Oh, this is our side, so we got to support them." It's just like, what? No, that was wrong. So that's the way I feel. I think it's connected to this case and many things as well.
No, I agree with you. And I've said there's been some ICE issues, but I've always pushed back and said, you do realize the only reason we have issues with ICE is because sanctuary cities won't do what they're supposed to do, which is report 100%. To ICE. If they did that, we wouldn't be having these discussions. So you do realize that ICE has been working in other, you do realize ICE didn't just materialize last Tuesday, right? ICE has been around for years, right? It's been doing its job, whether it be good job or not. They've been doing the job whenever. So the only reason we know about it is primarily because a lot of people have drawn attention to it. So that's what I mean by design. But even more than that, like if they just allowed the police to do what they're supposed to do, instead of, then we wouldn't have this problem like they've been doing in the past. So this is actually fairly, again, this is concocted outrage. It's performative and it's such of that nature. So, but I agree with you. There's been instances.
I'm just talking about the incidents of some of the murders, but you're right. 1,000% you're right.
Like it wouldn't happen if we didn't, if
we didn't buck up on the police in the first place. Absolutely.
Because that's how I support, sometimes I do body cam nights where we just sit and watch body cams and we just kind of talk about it as the audience, myself in the live chat. And we've concluded a couple things. Just obey. Like there's so many issues that if the police just say license, registration, insurance, and you just give it to them,
right? No,
we wouldn't have you on body cam. You wouldn't be a body cam contestant. Like just obey. Sure. You don't think that you were speeding. You know what? You might not have been speeding. He might have made that up. But when you go to court, that's where you argue it out. You don't argue on the side of the road. You're guaranteed to get pulled out of the car if you don't. Again, you're guaranteed. And when they pull you out of the car, they don't put you back in the car. They're going to put you in the back of their car, but you're not going to go back into your car. And your car is going to go to car jail. Like just work. Just obey. Again, it might not be right. It might not be fair, but I guarantee you going home is a whole lot better than being roughed up, locked up, and then you got to get bailed out.
Right.
I don't know what's noble about that.
Yeah, nothing at all.
Nothing. Let me bring this one in real quick. It's Savannah Hernandez. She's there as well, and she has a little quick segment right here. But let me real quick. Yesterday, while watching jury selection, I noticed that Karmello Anthony was since shaved. His head and his new haircut makes him look even younger. I heard somebody else say this as well. On top of that, his lawyer will be referring to Karmello as Mello for the duration of the trial. I would love to know what's the rationale behind that, though. I don't. Besides what I said, I want to be wrong, so I would love to know what. And then yesterday, a few jurors referenced Karmello's youthful looks as a reason as why they could never give him life in prison. So,
I don't know. Yeah, you have a video also. Oh, she just said
there's a little. I think this is just like a little breakdown of that. Let me see real quick. Make it a little bit. All right, y'all. All right, let's hear what she's got to say.
On top of that, let's not forget. Okay, y'all, so I just noticed this headline, baby-faced Karmello Anthony heads to court to stand trial for murder. Now, one thing that I forgot to report to you guys yesterday, because I did get to go inside the courthouse and I was watching the live stream of the jury selection, is that Karmello Anthony has since shaved his head, so he even looks younger than he does in this photo. On top of that, let's not forget that his lawyer is going to be referring to him for the duration of this trial as Mello, a nickname that his lawyer states his friends and family know him by. So not only has Karmello drastically changed his appearance with that shaved head, again, making him look much younger, but his lawyer also going to be referring to him as Mello for the duration of this trial. By the way, you have the Karmello supporters, which I'm sure you can hear behind me. They were just chanting that they love their Black youth and they deserve protection too. I am live on the ground for opening arguments of the Karmello Anthony trial.
All right.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm convinced. I heard what you said. Unless maybe there was a statement. I don't know if I'm convinced they shaved his head because it makes him look younger. I think it's a presentable thing. Like there's something about that new look with dreads or with big hair and all that other stuff that it can look like less, I would say less presentable, especially for people who are culturally not aware with, like, for us, it doesn't mean anything. I can meet a person and just see by the way that he carries himself or mannerisms of what he's about generally. But people that are coming from across the aisle, a lot of times they're looking like, okay, he's got the hair, he's got that look, and I think that's probably why they cut it off. I don't know if they unless they release a statement they wanted him to look younger. I don't know if that was the actual intention.
Okay, and again, we are translating it, and I'm translating from Savannah, and I'm translating from another reporter that said the same thing about him looking young. I think they're separate, so I don't think that they corroborated that statement. But okay, for example, I'm assuming you still. I don't have boys; I have girls. So you have boys, right? You have at least.
I have 4 boys, 3 girls. Yeah.
Okay, so one of your boys, do y'all get your hair cut when they turn 1, or do you cut it, or
we usually
how does that
get
work?
their hair cut when they turn 3. When they turn 3, is when we usually
okay.
Boys,
So he's usually. So I'm assuming that he had a nice little shapely. He wasn't follically challenged like me, right? But he went to the barbershop and got cleaned up, and he looked different to you, and you're his dad. He looked different to his mom, and that's his mom and his siblings. And I think so. You might say he looks like, man, you look grown up. You look more mature. But grandma might look at him and say, look at my little man. So it might be just a perception issue that. Right. But if you had a son that was 16, he had a big old fro and he went and got it shaved off, he might look younger to you. Like, man, you look, you're 12 again or something. If I shave my face off, people would probably say I look like I'm, not as old as I am. So I think it's just a perception thing. And maybe they interpreted it as he looks younger, because all we've seen is those pictures of him with the dreads. So that's all we've been accustomed to seeing. So now we don't see it. Maybe he just looks different.
But think about it. Most of the mugshots we see, unfortunately, are young men with dreads or with big hair.
We could get into a discussion about that for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. I think it's a thing. Like, I think that, like I remember going to juvenile when I was younger. And this is after I was already a good boy. I was a captain football, whatever they got. My house had burnt down, so I missed a warrant. Now, there are plenty of things I should have went to juvenile for, but I missed all that. And I ended up going because I had a failure to appear, but I had no idea. So We got stopped by some U.S. Marshals. One of my uncles was into something. The car was in his name, and when they ran my name, I had a warrant for my arrest that I didn't know about. So they ended up taking me, and by the time I'm there, this is when I was leader of the Bible study group. I was in youth ministry. I was like, I was a good kid by the time they came and took me, and I had to go to juvenile like that. And I said, it don't matter how good or how many beautiful things I was doing. The whole community came out and wrote letters for me, and it was beautiful. However, when you got that orange jumpsuit on, you look like a criminal. It don't matter what you did or you didn't do or whatever the case is. And so sometimes I think, like I tell you, the reason why the way that I see things when it comes to the hair in particular is because my mother used to always tell me, you don't grow your hair out, you're gonna have to move out of my house. Like my mother wasn't playing. You keep it short, you keep it clean, because that was her way of saying, like, this is presentable. We're not doing no cornrows. You're not doing that. That's how my mother was. Even though my mother was hood and all that, but she didn't want that from me. So that's why. So sometimes it's very hard to convince the court, I think, that you are whatever, because if their perception, which it just is, most of the rappers go with this type of haircut. Most of the people who are publicly, acting a fool go with this type of hair. And I'm not saying every person who wears a hair like that is like that. God forbid. I would never say that. But the truth is that perception is everything. So I don't know if they did it because they were younger. And I kind of feel like sometimes the reporters are saying it's sort of like he did it so he can look younger, so that they can have more sympathy from her. I don't necessarily know if they're coming from the right place. That's my opinion.
That's perfectly fine. I can respect that. Here in Georgia, we had a really big case. It was called the YSL trial here in Atlanta, the biggest case in Georgia history, longest case in Georgia history. And there was a long period where they had to discuss whether or not persons who are already in jail that were going to come out to be witnesses, whether they would wear their prison blues or whether they get to dress down, because they didn't want the perception of the jurors to say, well, Jason is in here talking about how bad Nissam is, but Jason is in jail. Right. I'm sure they probably knew it, but but that was a discussion. So I don't disagree with you at all. I just think that if maybe it might be perception, it might be where they're coming from. It could be them reading into something or not. So, but yeah, thank you so much for that, man. Those are the only three I was going to do. I do have some ground news, just some articles about it, but it's not really that big a deal. Most of that has been covered by those news articles. I do want to say thank you so much to Juju for blessing somebody with a membership. If you got a membership from Juju, make sure you say what's up and thank you. Why is internal accountability so hard to face? Thank you, Christina. What do you think about that?
I think because it's a very deep answer, but I'll tell you this, that, think about like we're saying, the world of distraction. Most people don't even like to ride in the car without music because they don't want to hear themselves think, right? Okay. Because we have so much stuff. Every person has stuff. The amount of things that are flying at us today, even more than previous generations of where we are today, the amount of things that we're bombarded with, right? And the way that we react to those things, all those different things, it could be the scariest place in the world to be sometimes is in your own mind. It could be in your own mind, in your own thoughts. And so I think that, what happens is usually what people do a lot of times is they project. A lot of us, we spend our lives projecting onto other people, or dodging the bullet because we're creating the safe space around myself. You know what I mean? Because we got so much stuff in there that we ain't dealt with yet. So I think it's a very deep answer, but I think that's really where it is, because I'm so into fixing the root of things, right? Like I really want to get down to the root of things. I want to get to a place. If I got angry about something, why did I get angry? What's inside me that made me angry? So I think that the accountability is very hard for people, because it ends up saying, we have a big thing, and culturally in the Jewish world, it's very, very big on learning. Very, very big on learning. So much so that people who spend 5, 6, 7, 8, 18 hours and that's like the beautiful thing of learning Torah every day. That's the thing here. It's a very big thing. And one thing that my rabbi always says, it's always much easier to learn and to accomplish a lot in your learning, much more so than it is for a person to pray. Why is prayer so hard? It's just because prayer brings a person to vulnerability. They have to deal with things that are inside of their lives that they may not want to really deal with, right? Even though that's really what's going to bring you to the place you want to be. So I think that's the problem, is accountability. Because if I say that this person did that, then I got to start looking at the things that I did. So we just gonna keep everybody like, no. So I think that's where it's coming from.
No, I can definitely rock with that. I think to add my 2 cents to this one to see if we can make $1, I believe that there's a level of pride that has to be dealt with in order for me to take correction from you, Nissam, or to even think about the fact that I could be wrong. Like, there's a possibility that I could be wrong. And am I okay with that? And then if Nissam comes to me and shows me, Jason, you're wrong about this. You said 2 + 2 is 9. Here's the evidence. Here's the proof. Here's a corroborating evidence that 2 + 2 is 4, Jason. Am I willing to say, you're right, my bad. I was wrong. I said 2 + 2 is 9, and I was wrong. But there's a level of pride that keeps us from being able to accept that. And no, I'm gonna fight you. No, 2 + 2 is 9. And I'm gonna just be out here looking ridiculous, arguing that 2 + 2 is 9, when in all honesty, I should have just been willing to accept, yeah, Nissam's right. And yep,
Right.
Nissam's right.
Powerful.
And so
I think it comes not from a bad place, right? But here's a bad place, like a woman, for instance, right? You know, I don't want to get anybody riled up on the chat, but you know, it's a lot of times hard for women to apologize, and it's not coming from a bad place. I must tell you this, it's because she wants to be perfect in her husband's eyes, and so pointing out any blemish is a blemish to her honor sometimes. And this is what I've just seen, just growing up and dealing with my mother, and then, you know, all this other case like that. My wife say sorry if she need to, but I'm just saying it's something that, and I don't think it's a woman thing. I think it's usually coined. I've heard this a lot in women, but I think it's a human thing, as where we don't want to have any blemish in the eyes of another person. And so the moment that it looks that we look deficient in any type of way, it hits that pride chord, like you just said. And so then it's hard to be accountable. Like you said, I think you hit it right on. So I hope I don't offend the women.
No, they're going to jump on you, man. Hold on. Let me check the chat. I don't know. Somebody said it's all good.
I'm just saying what I heard.
I heard it said, I've heard it said that.
I heard it said
no, they got you, man. They got you. They got you. Put a black heart in the chat. We're going to protect Nissam. We're going to make sure we protect him. Shout out to Mike. Thank you so much for 10 memberships. Man, Mike has been a blessing to the team. Not only did he do, so Mike right here is our resident student. And I don't know if you've heard about this this crazy trend going on here in the United States, the Kool-Aid pineapple challenge, where people are taking jars of pineapple and mixing Kool-Aid with it and a whole bunch of sugar, and it's diabetes in a bottle. I'm like, why?
Yeah, okay.
Why? And so I was on the show the other day, just kind of ruminating, like, I wonder what would it taste like if you didn't put so much sugar. I mean, it's a lot of sugar. Like, there's no reason to put that much sugar in something. Like, what if you just put like a reasonable amount? So Mike took one for the team, and Mike tried it out. He tried it with the regular, like the recipe kind of sugar, make your eye twitch. And then he tried it like with a reduced amount and gave a report back. So Mike is our student. Shout out to Mike, blessing 10 people with memberships. I'm glad that
I'm in America a lot. I just haven't been. I guess I haven't been in places where they were serving this. I mean, I'm there a third of the year, at least one third of the year.
Product. It's a hood product. Right. So I'm gonna just tell you that right now. It's a hood product. So you might not be around there.
I ain't been in the hood in a while.
Shout out to Amethyst. What's society like where you are? The community, especially the Black Orthodox Jew. I love hearing about different cultures in real time. Thank you so much, Amethyst, for the very kind 5. Do you mind giving us like a little peek of what life is like, and even your hood? Like, what's your hood like?
Right. It's very beautiful. So about 7 years, I moved out of Jerusalem. I'm about 30 minutes away into a more suburban area, I guess I would say, in a city called Beit Shemesh. And over here, most people go like me, wear hats and different things like that. But my community is actually within what it is actually, it's a bit more diverse than other areas, but there's pockets of these neighborhoods. But, my kids they're living a life. They go, I have kids in karate. I have a daughter who's in dance. She runs runs a dance group, and And so the kids have after school activities. The boys are in school for a very long time. So I think the boys are in school from about 8 to about 5 o'clock in the afternoon or whatever. So it's a long days by the boys. The girls usually get out a little bit earlier, but we have community, a lot of love, a lot of different backgrounds. So my house, you'll find everything. I mean, you could come to my house on a Shabbat dinner, and actually, if you are less melanated, you may feel like a minority. There's enough families over here who very similar backgrounds or whatever. And so, we may not make the typical Jewish food because that's not what we grew up eating all the time. So,
okay.
It's actually a very beautiful experience. But my kids, they're a little bit less connected to American society, right? So there are, a lot of times I get a lot of questions. Is there racism? Is there things like that over there? In the Middle East, the further east you go, even in the United States, I would say people are less politically correct. Does not always mean it comes with the prejudice to it. So like my kids encountering things mean nothing as if it would have been me in America where there's prejudice and all these other things. You people do X. It's like, no, when you just look different, and kids will say that to you. So for me and my wife, we were taking it more personal than our kids, but my kids, they didn't grow up in the typical school system like what you do in America. Like in Israel, they're not teaching about African-American slavery. So my kids don't know nothing about that, about the Jim. I had to teach all my kids that they had no idea what any of that was. Right. So they don't carry any baggage with any of those things. So because the other kids are like that, they flip around very fast. So my kids have friends with everybody. It's actually very, very rewarding. And spirituality here in Israel is just unmatched. It is unmatched. The place is electric. I don't know if you've been here, Jason, but I think, y'all, come on, man. You got to come do a trip. I mean, come on.
We might have to make it happen. Okay, let me ask you this. Okay, how many of your children have been born stateside versus in Israel, or all of them Israel?
My first 4 were born in America, and then my last 3 were born here. But the ones that even like my eldest daughter who's graduating, she's the most American because she was 7 when we moved here. But after her, my next son was 3. So the rest of the kids, they at least started school here from the school system. It took them about 5 months, I would say, for them to pick up the language, the kids that were here. So in 5 months, they were fluent in Hebrew and all of that. So they're probably all of the kids are more comfortable in Hebrew than they are English. But if you talk to them, they speak both of them like it's their native language, but they're probably a little bit more comfortable in Hebrew, especially the boys.
That's powerful. So your community, would you say that are there many expat Blacks or African Americans or American Blacks there, or are they Blacks from Africa? Are they Blacks from elsewhere, or like a
lot of them actually African American. Yeah, a lot of them are either African American. Some are converts, some not. One of the boys, there's 2 boys that I sort of taken in like little brothers. They, I guess they're more like sons, but they're my little brothers.
You don't need no more kids, bro. You don't need no more kids, my guy. No more kids. Time out on the kids. Don't be renting no kids. Nothing, man. You good with 7.
We're a small family over here, by the way.
Wow. Don't say that, man. Are you for real?
Listen, man. I'm
gonna come back.
The Bible said, "Be fruitful and multiply."
It did say that. That's what the book says.
You don't know which one gonna take care of you, man. You got to have this insurance policy. So these 2 boys we married off, and one of them married Ethiopian Jewish. So they're a big family. So they became a part of the family. So but most of the community here, I heard somebody say, I'm not sure if it's true, but I heard that I would tend to believe that it's the continent of Africa, but it's not a country. But they said that most outside of that, the most African Americans that live outside of the United States actually live here in Israel. Because you have to think about there's the Hebrew community in the south near Dimona. They're not near us, but they're down in Dimona. So you have to think that most of them, they all came from Chicago, right? So, but
so you do so you do have like a Black Hebrew Israelite contingency,
like community, it's not this. They're not the same sect as the guys screaming at people on the thing, but there's many different flavors,
there's a lot
most
of
the Orthodox families that live near us. Most of them came from America.
What would you say if somebody said, "Well, you're just a Hebrew you're just like a Black Hebrew Israelite"? I don't think you are personally, but what I get. Yeah, I get. What if they try to lump you with the Chicago or the, this group over here, this camp? What would you say about that? Or
that's
how would you?
Clearly not the case. I mean, it would definitely require some re-education. Seeing as how none of my rabbis look like me, so I don't think that would be the case. Where they may have an issue with their rabbi not looking as melanated as them. So now it's a completely different. I'm 100% Orthodox Hasidic Jew, belong to the Breslover Hasidic sect. So I'm definitely not a Hebrew Israelite. The Hebrew Israelites, they got a few videos out there. They'll tell you really quickly I ain't one of them.
You done made a video? They done made a video on you?
I made a video on me, man. I done seen one that was like 2 hours long. I mean, I done had to argue with these guys down in Times Square. I was shooting a video. They came and stopped my video. They wanted to argue and debate, and it was just then showed up to me. I was on tour. What was I at? I think I don't know if I was in North Carolina, somewhere over in the Midwest. Actually, I think it was
for sure. Okay,
and they showed up at my. But they'll tell you really quickly. I mean, there's other communities though that are not as intense as these guys, but as many different sects. That's a whole different thing, can of worms to open. But yeah.
Absolutely. All right, let me make sure I got hit these. Make sure I got all your questions. Thank you so much, Introspective. With the 10, I think we society have forgotten that it takes a village to raise a child. Okay. This is going to be I'm going to answer this one first. At the same time, there are so many children in villages out there that are experiencing a sickness. Pray for these kids. I agree with you on the second part, but I don't agree with the notion it takes a village. And I'll tell you why. As a former classroom teacher, I can tell you emphatically, you don't want the village raising your child. God did not. You just don't. Because the morals, the ideas, the values of the community might not be what you have. And you have a much better control. I'll just use Nissam. Nissam and his wife have much better intel and insight into their children's well-being and what your sons like versus your daughters, what your olders versus your youngers, all of that stuff like that. You have much better control of that than the village.
Absolutely.
It's June. Go look at the village at your downtown this weekend, and you tell me you want them people raising your children. So I do understand the notion, but it's much better, in my opinion, that the parents are fully, because one of the things also is a lot of people use this as a reason for themselves, Nissam, to not be fully dialed in on their own children. And so again, I'm telling you, as a public school teacher, many people tap out and be like, well, it takes a village. No, it takes your mom and your daddy. Like y'all get involved. Now you can get ancillary support. You can get support staff. Now I'm not saying you can't tap your pastor, can't reach out to the community center, can't get I'm not saying that. What I am saying is you have to give 110% as the mom and the dad. And if if you're only giving 100%, you need 110%, you can come knock on the door. And I'll give you 5% a help out. My wife will help you out. My kids help you out. The village will help you there, but I've seen too many people give 10% and they want the village to give the 100.
I hear exactly what you're saying. I agree with that, and I think that it's an old adage, and I think that it comes from when you could depend on the village because there was a certain sense of morality. And from those times when my mother was young or when my grandmother was young, not only today you can't touch your kids. Back in the day, if you got in trouble, you got to go see Uncle Byron. You had to go see Aunt Mary. Everybody was giving it to you.
Everybody gave it a business, right?
Everybody was giving it to you because that was a part of the village because there's a code of morality, and this is but. Like you said, today that's not applicable at all, right? You can't say that. And not to say that the onus didn't fall on the parents. I'm just saying that today, for sure, what you said is absolutely right. The problem is the village has been raising the kids. That's been the issue with a lot of the things that we've been watching. So I agree with that 1,000%. Yeah,
and again, I just think and listen to listen how you break down your community. Maybe your community would qualify as the old school village that you could trust. But I think as a general rule, I'm like, no, you're gonna have to. I need you to be fully dialed in well
Mhm,
before,
mhm,
because a lot of people, again,
mhm.
it's a scapegoat. It's a way to deflect me not being 100% a participant in the maturing and imagination of my own children and helping
Right,
them
and then
grow.
sometimes there are those times where you're given everything, like, that's happened to me with some of the close friends that I have, right? And some of the
Mhm.
younger boys who I would refer to more like, little nephews or something like that, they look up to me. The mother notices that, and she comes to me and says, "Listen, can I know you got your own kids and everything else, but this person really looks up to you. Can you watch out for him for me?" That's as still as the parent, she's the one doing. She's identifying somebody that could be impactful in her son's life. And so therefore that's the parenting. That ain't the
Yeah,
village, that's the parenting going to find the help. So that's important. I'm not saying that 100% if you see that you're not having success with the kids or one parent is over emotional and that's not happening. I was dealing with something the other day with one of my kids, and my wife was trying, but she's not getting the message through. And she knows she's not getting the message through. She says, "Listen, this is a daddy conversation and you need to have the conversation." And I had the conversation with my child, and it was like, "Oh, okay. So yeah, it's totally fine. I get it now." Right. So yeah, and which is why, that was just even another factor for me of realizing how important fathers are, how important it
Oh
is to
yeah.
have a father at home. You need both parents. It's just it can't be said enough.
No, I agree with you. I got one more super, but now you got me asking a question. Can I ask
Mhm.
you,
Yeah.
where you live? What is single? Are there single mothers by choice, like going out there doing the thing that gets you to become a single mother? Not that their husband passed away, not widows. Like, what does that
Mhm.
look like in your area, your neighborhood, your community?
Totally not. Just not a thing. I mean, you've have people who sometimes are divorced, but probably won't be divorced for very long. You know what I'm saying? Maybe a few years, couple years, something like that to get the stuff together. But there's no, yeah, it's just not a thing. It's so interesting. I had a friend a
Wow.
while ago who he uh, I mean, at least thank God all of his children were with one woman. At least the children I know that he had from back when I knew the story. He had like 4 or 5 boys with
Woo.
one girl. He was in none of their lives. He only came around when he wanted to make kids, and apart from that, he wasn't around. And I remember her asking my wife, this is maybe 12 years ago. So she said, "What makes you? What I'm trying to understand because they're friends, they know each other. Like, what makes your husband like be with you and want to be there with the kids and to build a family and all these other things?" Like, well, I'm trying to get it. And I told her, not only was it, thank God I had a father figure. Even when my parents split, I had my stepfather who's my dad. He raised me since I was 2. And thank God I
Okay.
have 2 dads, not in the post 2020 sense. But
You
anyway,
out of control, man.
so I had so I had that male positive role model, but even more so, more than that, my perception cool is a completely different perception of cool than what he has. Cool
Mhm.
to me is raising and being there with the family. Like, that's my perception of what is cool. And I think what a lot of these guys are, they have the wrong perception. Like, usually young couples, I tell them all the time, are newlyweds. I usually tell them, say, "Listen, this is a time for you to stop hanging out with a lot of your single friends." And
Right,
the
for
reason
sure.
why is because they're gonna have a different perception of when your wife keeps calling you and all that. "Oh, why she keep calling you?" That, like, he ain't got nobody calling him. So therefore, he's going to make you feel some type of way every
Right,
time
for
that
sure.
appear to be in a compromising situation because you have a relationship here that he don't know nothing about. And the more and more you're around those type of people, they make you feel bad about it. You start to feel like you're the loser, that you start to feel like, "Oh, why she keep calling me? Why is she checking me down?" or whatever. Is because you committed to her. That's why.
Correct.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I think, that culturally here, it's just not a thing. It's not, you 18, 19, you're getting married as a girl, right?
Wow.
Usually that's around 18, 19, 20, some, but in your early 20s, at least you're getting married. Young man as well could be anywhere from 19 to 24 or something like that. The parents are involved and trying to find a
Interesting.
spouse for the other
Right, right.
person. It's just, once you're coming from that, it's much easier. But think about it. You probably think about this when I was in high school. I'm thinking back now, but just telling somebody when I looked at all the guys who had a father who was in their life and at home, they're crushing it. They're homeowners. They're married. They have kids. And it ain't but 5 or 4 of them I could count on a hand, to be honest, from where I came from. And I can look at other guys. You know, I have friends who were outstanding in their grades, but they had messed up home, and parents were strung out on drugs, raised by the grandma, the whole everything like that. And it was like, wow, look at what they're doing. And then when it came to real life, just what are they doing? You understand what I'm saying? No kid, no marriage, no nothing. Just out here, you know, hanging with all the dudes that like you missed out hanging out with all the guys in high school. And it was because, you know what? You didn't have a stable family situation. And so, yeah, that's very, very uncommon here in the Jewish community as a whole.
Wow.
It's very uncommon.
Okay. No, that is thank you, man. That's a very interesting perspective. Mike coming through. He's a stream sponsor, man. Thank you for the 50. He says this: take the cell phones out of the kids' hands, and a lot of this stuff goes away.
I would agree. It's a big issue.
I can give you that. I can give that.
That's even ChatGPT, the devil version, said that, you know, he would raise the kids with the screens. You know what I'm saying?
No, he did.
Sure.
Impressionable minds are like dams. They only can take so much pressure before they break and flood everything around them. It's incumbent on parents to parent. No argument from me at all. I would only add, if you're going to take the screens out their hands, which I got no problem with that, put a book in it. Put something in there for them to feed, because if they don't have anything, I do think that can become just as much a problem, because it's just a void. And
I'll tell you a big thing.
I would say just add something. Go ahead.
Okay, about your community, about when you asked about the community, like that's also very common here in certain pockets. Some kids are more so. After 2020 has been different. Like, for instance, up until 2020, and this is me, I've had a career for a long time. My kids didn't even see my videos. They didn't even know. They for sure didn't have a screen in their face. My kids read books. That's what they read. So even still to today, they much rather book. My kids read themselves to sleep. They have I have so many books. I don't even know what to do with all these books. I have so many books throughout my house because my kids have. And another thing that they did, what we used to do, they play outside. They get their bikes, they get their scooters, they go outside, they play soccer, they throw balls, they play basketball, whatever the case is, that's what they're doing. And it's culturally acceptable here for them to do that. And it's frowned upon in my community for the kids to be on the screens. So
nice.
You know, you have to sign a lot of times a declaration before you go to a school here, to a religious school, that your kids are not on the screens. They don't have time on the internet and all that to be able to put them in there, because they don't want them bringing the junk into the schools, right? That they're getting. And I seen it. If I would be lying if I didn't see it myself. There are people, family members that I know who were, you know, if there was any definition, I don't like the term at all, because I think that you know, you're either godly or you're ungodly with the way that you choose to have your relationships. But we'll say they were the most anti-LGBT. I couldn't even, if you breathe something, they was looking at somebody wrong. And I fast forward many years later, these guys are just the biggest advocates and all this other stuff. And I'm like, how did that happen? You understand? Like, I checked out of the world during this time. Like I told you, I didn't have internet. I didn't have smartphones, definitely no news or any of that. I ain't seen a movie in 15 years. So I have no idea. So because of that, I know, why do I have the same values and they've changed completely? It's because they've been trained by the screens. And so if that's happening to grown men, when I left, they were grown men. Imagine what it's doing to the children who are much more impressionable. So I think there was a lot to that comment that he put there.
No, I appreciate it, Mike. Very good comment. I agree with you 100%, Nissam. All right, my friend, I have secured quite a bit of your time. And I am honored to have. I'm honored to have you on.
Midnight here.
Wait, what time is it? What time?
11:39, 11:40. That's how much I love you, man. I'm so eager and so happy to have this opportunity. I'm well past my bedtime. I get up at 4 a.m, man. I got to get to sleep, but I appreciate you. I really appreciate you. Appreciate what you're doing as well.
Thank you so much, Nissam. If ever you want to come back or you want me to come over there, I don't know, you have to send me a whole ticket, but we'll work it out. Or I'll come on your show no matter what, man.
Yeah,
Well,
I would love to, both physically and online. We got to make it happen.
all right. Next time you're in Hartsfield Jackson International Airport, please call me. I'll shoot on down there. I'll catch up with you. So Nissam,
All right,
real quick,
brother.
just tell everybody goodbye. Tell them a little bit, whatever you want to end with, and I'm gonna let you get out of here, and I'm gonna shut the show down. So I'll give you a big swing.
I'll shut it down with my line. I always say when I end my show, remember to serve God or live trying. You guys can. Once you're done with the best live stream on the internet, you could come over to the best podcast on the internet afterwards and discuss with me, and we can ride. So I really appreciate you. I appreciate your audience and appreciate all that you've been doing and fighting the good fight. One of God's warriors.
Well, thank you, young man. I appreciate you. We're going to do this again real soon. So look for an email. We're going to make this work again. So, brother, go get some rest, and I'll catch you real soon, sir. Grace and peace. Take care, friend. All right. Shout out to Nissam Black, ladies and gentlemen. Thank y'all so much for recommending. I really appreciate y'all stressing. Like, we need to get Nissam on here. And I'm glad he was on. That was good. Maybe next time we need to tell him to take his camera out there and give us like a man on the street or something. But man, thank y'all so much to everybody who tapped in. This was a good, thankful Thursday. I will say that. This was a good one. So thank y'all, everybody, for tapping in. I am going to go check on Chief Executive Secondborn, and because I know my wife is on her way home, so we're gonna go hang out with her. But I want to say thank you to everybody. I appreciate the moderators. Thank you so very much to the very kind supers. Thank you so much, Mike, for being the stream sponsor. I really appreciate you, man. Thank you so much again, everybody. I really appreciate it. Let's do this again tomorrow. Tomorrow we'll do Friday Night Lights, and we will do body cam bingo. I got some crazy ones for y'all. So we'll do that and have a good relaxing end of the week. So everybody, thank you so much. I'll see you real soon. Grace and peace. Take care. Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of the Jay Witt Podcast. If you enjoyed today's show, please do me a favor and hit me up with that 3-piece special. Like the video, subscribe, and of course, share it with somebody who would also enjoy this type of content. And make sure you leave a comment, because I do pin the best comments to the top. So thank you so much for tuning in today. And until next time, everybody, grace and peace.